Hello, welcome to the session on sinusoidal oscillators. So the basic of a sinusoidal oscillator is a tank circuit which will generate oscillations. So I have given the circuit diagram here of a tank circuit. It basically consists of an inductor L and a capacitor C. So that is also referred to as an LC tank circuit. Remember, an oscillator is a circuit which will generate oscillations even in the absence of an external supply, AC supply. It will take a DC supply and it will generate oscillations, unlike in the case of an amplifier, which will require an AC signals that will have to feed in from a function generator. In the case of a oscillator, it will be generating oscillations on its own, and here we are discussing sinusoidal oscillators, which means it will be a circuit, different types of circuits which will generate a sine wave as the output. So the basic component is obviously is a tank circuit. Here we are going to discuss tank circuits which will contain an inductor and a capacitor, so it is referred to as an LC tank circuit. To understand the functioning of an LC tank circuit, let us consider this diagram. I have described all the steps using which this circuit will generate sinusoidal oscillations in 7 points. But basically you can go through, I am not reading them all now, you can go through, but basically what is happening is that in order to understand, we can assume that this circuit consists of 2 points A and B, to which you can toggle a switch, and initially we will assume that the switch is connected to the point A in such a way that the capacitor C is connected to the battery of voltage V. So the capacitor which will be getting charged from the battery of voltage V, it will acquire positive charge on the top plate. Then once when the capacitor has reached the full charge, or it is charged to the fullest potential, we will toggle the switch and will place it at the point B. So which means the battery is disconnected at this point. So obviously the capacitor will undergo discharging. So when it is discharging, it is actually discharging through the inductor L. So it will send out a current through the inductor L. But inductor has got a property, it will oppose any change in current through it. Therefore, when the current is flowing from the top plate of the capacitor in the counterclockwise direction through L, current is flowing in that counterclockwise direction, but this inductor will try to oppose it. So it will generate an EMF in such a way that it will oppose the flow in current. So that induced EMF will set up a voltage in such a way that it will charge the capacitor in such a way that the bottom of the capacitor will acquire positive charge. So that means once when the capacitor is getting discharged, thereafter it will be acquiring again charge due to the due to the induction in L, and it will acquire a charge opposite to the charge accumulated in the previous case from V. So now the bottom plate of the capacitor will be having positive charge and the top plate will be having negative charge. So again, once when this charging is complete, again it will undergo discharging. So in this case, it will be sending out a current in the clockwise direction through L. So that again will generate induced EMF, and that induced EMF will again charge the capacitor in such a way that now the top plate of the capacitor will become positively charged. So now what is happening is that due to this charging and discharging of the capacitor through L, it is actually sending out current periodically in the clockwise direction and counterclockwise direction. So that is actually what we mean by the oscillations which are produced due to this L and C combination, which are actually, they are connected in parallel, and initially we are using a battery to charge the capacitor. So once when the capacitor is initially fully charged, thereafter it will begin oscillations on its own, and that is the reason why we are getting sinusoidal output from the LC tank circuit. So all these the processes which even the theory, all this theory I have described it here. You can go through. Basically the tank circuit will undergo charging and discharging, which will generate the flow of current periodically in the clockwise direction and anti-clockwise direction. So that is what we call the sinusoidal oscillations. Now if you just have a tank circuit, we know for example initially we have charged it using the battery V, and now it is generating oscillations. And if the basics of all these oscillations that you have learned in lower classes, you know that whenever there is no external force to maintain the oscillations will gradually die out. So what do you mean by oscillations getting dying out is the amplitude of these oscillations will keep on decreasing, and ultimately it will reach zero. So that is shown in the top diagram here. The oscillation initially has got a high amplitude, but successively the amplitude is getting decreased, and this is referred to as a damped oscillation, and the output is referred to as damped output. So whenever we don't have an external force to maintain the amplitude of the oscillations will be automatically getting died out, and it is referred to as damping. And that is happening in electrical circuit also. And if you want to prevent damping means after a while the oscillations will not be there, but if you want to have sustained oscillations, you will have to maintain the amplitude. So that means periodically you will have to provide a force which will maintain the amplitude to a constant value. So when we do that, we'll be getting sinusoidal oscillations without any damping. And for that we will have to, in addition to making use of this tank circuit, you will have to use some other electronic components also to prevent damping, and that is what we are going to see. So all those components along with the tank circuit will together make a successful sinusoidal oscillator. So there are a variety of options in which you can do that, and we will see them one by one. But before that, let me just introduce this concept. It is referred to as resonance in the LC tank circuit. So that will help you find out how much is the frequency of oscillation for a given L value and C value. So for that we are making use of the concepts of capacitive reactance and inductive reactance. And when the circuit is in equilibrium, the capacitive reactance chi C and the inductive reactance chi L should be equal. So when you equate these two, you will be able to deduce the frequency of oscillations, which I will show you right now. Here I have listed out the inductive reactance is defined as 2 pi FL, where F is the supply frequency. Normally in our case it will be 50 Hertz. L is the inductance, and chi C is the capacitive reactance defined as 1 by 2 pi FC. F is again the frequency and C is the capacitance. So when you equate the two, chi L is equal to chi C, you can proceed in this manner. 2 pi FL is equal to 1 by 2 pi FC. You take F from the right side to the left side, so that it will make F square. So you evaluate F square and you will be getting 1 by 2 pi square into LC. So that will provide you F is equal to 1 by 2 pi into root of LC. So that is the equation. So I have taken, when I said 1 by 2 pi into root of LC, the denominator has got 2 pi and root of LC. So it is because I have taken this 2 pi the whole square outside the square root sign. So your equation for frequency is quite compact and it is very easy to remember. F is equal to 1 by 2 pi root of LC. But L is the inductance in the tank circuit and C is the capacitance. But remember, depending on the design of the oscillator circuit, there are many options. You can use many L and many C. So whatever number of L and C that you are using, you will have to find out the effective value of L and C in the circuit and substitute in this equation, and you will be getting the frequency of oscillation. So this F will be given in Hertz. Okay. So the basic of a sinusoidal oscillator is a tank circuit which will generate oscillations. So I have given the circuit diagram here of a tank circuit. It basically consists of an inductor L and a capacitor C. So that is also referred to as an LC tank circuit. Remember, an oscillator is a circuit which will generate oscillations even in the absence of an external supply, AC supply. It will take a DC supply and it will generate oscillations, unlike in the case of an amplifier, which will require an AC signals that will have to feed in from a function generator. In the case of a oscillator, it will be generating oscillations on its own. And here we are discussing sinusoidal oscillators, which means it will be a circuit, different types of circuits which will generate a sine wave as the output. So the basic component is obviously is a tank circuit. Here we are going to discuss tank circuits which will contain an inductor and a capacitor, so it is referred to as an LC tank circuit. To understand the functioning of an LC tank circuit, let us consider this diagram. I have described all the steps using which this circuit will generate sinusoidal oscillations in 7 points. But basically you can go through, I am not reading them all now, you can go through, but basically what is happening is that in order to understand, we can assume that this circuit consists of 2 points A and B, to which you can toggle a switch, and initially we will assume that the switch is connected to the point A in such a way that the capacitor C is connected to the battery of voltage V. So the capacitor which will be getting charged from the battery of voltage V, it will acquire positive charge on the top plate. Then once when the capacitor has reached the full charge, or it is charged to the fullest potential, we will toggle the switch and will place it at the point B. So which means the battery is disconnected at this point. So obviously the capacitor will undergo discharging. So when it is discharging, it is actually discharging through the inductor L. So it will send out a current through the inductor L. But inductor has got a property, it will oppose any change in current through it. Therefore, when the current is flowing from the top plate of the capacitor in the counterclockwise direction through L, current is flowing in that counterclockwise direction, but this inductor will try to oppose it. So it will generate an EM. Why, if CE, the emitter bypass capacitor, if it is not there, what is going to happen is that the amplified AC oscillations will drop across RE, and it will actually alter the Q point. So in order to prevent that, we are using CE. And capacitor C1 and L1, they are part of the tank circuit, so they will generate oscillations. And C2 is the bypass capacitor for the resistor R2. You can also call it to be the coupling capacitor. Okay, so whenever we have got an AC, to connect AC to properly to the input and to take out AC from the output, we will be using coupling capacitors, because C capacitor will it will bypass AC. So in order to have that, we are using whenever you are got to connect AC or to tap out AC, we will be using a capacitor. So that is what we meant by coupling. Now if you examine the working of a tuned collector oscillator, initially what we do is we will turn on the power supply VCC. So we have got other options for designing the sinusoidal oscillator, but whenever you try to explain the working, what you have to do is you will have to always remember that we are using an amplifier, and normally when you use an amplifier just to amplify a weak signal, what we do is we connect it in such a way that it is a negative feedback amplifier. But in the case of an oscillator, you keep in mind that it is a positive feedback amplifier. positive feedback amplifier. When I say positive feedback amplifier, that means feedback is actually, we are giving out, we tap out a portion of the output and we will give it back to the input, and that is what we mean by feedback. So in both these situations, you have got already an input is going into the circuit, and then we take a portion of the output and then we connect that again to the input. So it is something like, at the input you have got two waves going in, and positive feedback means these two should be in phase. So that is what we have to ensure when you design a oscillator circuit. The feedback fraction, or the small amount of signal that we are feeding back into the input, it should be in phase with the input. Okay, or the output and input, there must be 0 phase difference or 360 phase difference. That is what we have to ensure through all the circuit components that we are using. So basically, when you explain the working of an oscillator, you'll have to first of all identify which is the tank circuit, okay, and then you explain how this tank circuit is generating oscillations, which is, if it is LC, in most cases we are considering the example of LC, so it is basically charging and discharging of the capacitor through L, which will generate current flow in the clockwise and counterclockwise directions, which we call the oscillations. And then what we have to see is how we are providing the feedback, which are the components through which we are feeding back the outputs into the input. Then you will have to explain how we ensure that there is 360-degree phase difference between the voltage fed back and the output voltage. So when you explain all this, you will complete the working of the oscillator circuit. So here we actually start by turning on the VCC, which is the supply voltage, and when you do that, you will be actually charging the capacitor C1. C1 is part of the tank circuit, so when VCC is turned on, it will charge the capacitor C1, and when it is then as we have seen earlier, you will have to explain the charging and discharging of the capacitor C1 through L1, which will generate oscillations. Okay, so that I am not explaining again. So once when C1 is getting charged fully, it will begin to discharge through L1, and then induced EMF will be set in, which will charge the capacitor to the opposite in the opposite manner, which will again make the current flow in the reverse direction. So that will make the oscillations. Then what we do is you will have to, so that is what is explained here, the generation of the oscillations. It is just the charging and discharging of the capacitor through L1 in the tank circuit. So that will explain how the oscillations are generated. Now we will have to see how we are feeding back this in this circuit. If you examine, I have marked a point as OP, which is the output. The output is taken from the collector branch. So the output, it is drawn as a sine wave here. So from this point we are taking out the output. So that means you will be connecting this point to the positive of the CRO, and this earth which is common and which is shown at the bottom, that will be connected to the negative of the CRO. So that will display the waveform like this, which is the output. So basically the output is taken from the collector, and in the collector you have got the oscillations which are generated by the tank circuit, which is present in the collector branch. So that is why it is referred to as tuned collector oscillators. Now what we will have to explain is how do we, so output is taken from here, which is collector. Now you will have to explain how do we take a portion of this output and giving how are we going to give it back to the input. So when you want to identify how are we going to do that, you will have to first of all identify. So here I have mentioned where do we have the output. Output is taken between collector and earth. Earth is connected to the earth is connected to the emitter. So basically the output is taken between collector and emitter of the transistor. Okay, so output is taken between collector and emitter, no doubt about that. Now you will have to examine how this feedback is done. You will have to see where do we have the input. Okay, so whenever you have got a common emitter configuration, the input should be given between base and emitter. Okay, input should be given between base and emitter. So when you want to find out how are we going to provide the feedback fraction between the base and emitter, you will have to see what are the circuit elements which are connected between the base and emitter. Okay, between the base and emitter. So see, you start by examining Q1. The base is connected to L2, the lower part of L2. Okay, so obviously we start from there. So the feedback is given between, so L2 and L2, where do we have connected the where have we connected the other end of L2? Other end of L2 is going to the top portion of R2, bottom portion of R2 is connected to RE, which is connected to emitter. So that is actually the input part. So the input is base and emitter, between which we have got L2, R2 and RE. Okay, so that means it is actually the voltage which is developed across L2 which is provided between the base and emitter. Obviously between base and emitter it is provided through R2 and RE, but basically the whatever voltage that we are giving back to the inputs of this common emitter amplifier portion is the voltage that is developed across L2. Okay, so the voltage developed across L2 is connected to base and emitter, which is the input. And for that we are actually making use of R2 and RE, which you don't have to worry because these are provided to maintain proper operating point. But what is important is that the voltage developed across L2 is given as the input, or the feedback fraction is the voltage developed across L2. Okay, so the output is taken at the collector, and the feedback fraction is the voltage developed across L2. So what we have is the tank circuit is L1 and C1, it is making some oscillation, and then you have placed another inductor close to L1. So what is happening is that this L2, because since it is placed near L1, it will experience mutual induction. So because of the oscillations generated in L1, L2 will generate its own oscillations through mutual induction. And the ratio of the voltages developed across L1 and L2 will be decided by the ratio of the number of turns in L1 and L2. So we choose L1 and L2 in such a way that L2 will be having very few number of turns compared to L1. So that means whatever voltage is developed across L1, a small fraction of that will be developed across L2 through mutual induction, because L2 has got fewer number of turns, and that voltage is provided to Q1 as the feedback fraction. So the feedback is the voltage developed across L2 through mutual induction. Okay, so we have explained how oscillations are generated in the tank circuit containing L1 and C1. We have explained how feedback voltage is provided back to the input of Q1 or the oscillator. That is actually the voltage developed across L2 through mutual induction. Now the last point that you have to explain is how do we ensure that there is 360-degree phase difference between the output and inputs. For that you will have to know, you remember, when you have got a common emitter configuration, the input and outputs will be having already, because of the presence of this transistor, the output and input will be having 180-degree phase difference. That means when the input is increasing, the output will be decreasing. So that is because of the common emitter transistor configuration and transistor action. Already there will be 180-degree phase difference between the input and outputs because of the presence of Q1. Now what we have to see is how do we provide an additional 180-degree so that it will make 360-degree and positive feedback is ensured. How do we do that is, we have actually the feedback fraction is taken from L2. Okay, and the way in which the coils are wound round in L1 and L2, they are opposite in direction, which means the way in which the voltage is developing in L1 and the way in which the voltage is developing in L2, they will be having, these are actually AC voltages, and their the way in which they are developing will be having a phase inverse phase will be there. the way in which these turns are wound round are opposite in direction in such a way that when the voltage in L1 is increasing, the voltage in L2 will be decreasing. So it is actually the peculiar way in which the coils L1 and L2 are wound round that will ensure an additional 180-degree phase difference. So that along with the phase difference imposed by Q1 will ensure that the input and output are in phase or 360-degree phase difference. So that is how we ensure positive feedback is there, and it is actually the positive feedback which will ensure that there is no damping and sustained oscillations will be generated. So this is the working of tuned collector oscillator. Now we will see another important oscillator. It is referred to as Colpitts oscillator. So this is a circuit diagram. You will have to examine. You will have to actually take time and find out how this will be working. And in this case, I am sorry I haven't marked the output. Actually, the output will be taken from the top of here. You can see the C out. So it is actually this point. Or the negative plate of C out is actually our the point at which we will be connecting the outputs, connecting the CRO. So in this case also will be taking the output from the collector branch. Okay, so in the case of Colpitts oscillator, first thing that you'll have to identify is which is our tank circuit. So tank circuit means whenever you have got a capacitor and an inductor which are connected parallel, that will be the tank circuit. So in this case, the tank circuit is a combination of C1 and C2, series combination of C1 and C2 which is connected parallel to L. So that is the modified tank circuit. So instead of just using a single capacitor, we have got two capacitors which are connected in series, and these two capacitors are connected in parallel to L. So that will make the tank circuit. So but the working is just as usual. When we turn on VCC, it will charge the combination of C1 and C2 to its fullest potential, and thereafter it will begin to discharge through L, and it will make induced EMF, and the induced EMF will result in charging of the capacitor in the opposite manner. So it will result in current reversal. So current will be flowing periodically in the positive, in the clockwise direction and anti-clockwise direction. So that will set in oscillations. Then you will have to identify how do we provide the feedback. So in this case, you will have to see what are the points. So oscillations are basically generated in the tank circuit. So from that oscillation, one portion should be given back to the input. So how do we identify that is you will have to see what are the what is connected between the base and emitter of the Q1, which is our transistor. So base is going, if I am starting from base of the Q1, okay, so base is actually going between R1 and R2, and from there it goes to CIN, and CIN is connected to the negative plate of C2. Okay, so base of the Q1 is connected to C2. Okay, is that do you agree with me? And then emitter is actually going in between. There are many things like RE and CE, but basically emitter is connected to the positive plate of C2. So okay, so just like in the previous example we had L2 which was connected between base and emitter, here we have L1 in the previous case. In the case of tuned collector oscillator, it was you got L1 and C1 which was a tank circuit, then L2 was placed near L1 and L2 was connected between base and emitter in the previous example. So similarly here the base and emitter of Q1 is connected to C2. Okay, so whatever oscillations are generated by the tank circuit, a portion of that voltage which is developed across C2 is given back to the input. Okay, so that means the feedback fraction is the voltage developed across C2. Feedback fraction is the voltage developed across C2. So that is given as the feedback. Now we will have to see how do we ensure that there is 360-degree total phase difference between the input and output. Already because of the presence of Q1 there is 180-degree phase shift. Now we will have to see how we are ensuring additional 180-degree phase shift. That is actually if you examine this tank circuit, the way in which it is connected, you can see the output is actually taken from the top of C1, okay, top of C1, where we are I have marked C out, that is actually coming to the top of C1. So that is the point at which we are connecting the positive of the CRO, and the negative of CRO will be connected to the common ground. In this case it is shown below RE, common ground. So what we have to see is what is the nature of the voltage developed across C2. So when you examine the output, C1, positive of C1 is connected to positive CRO, and when you examine this branch of C1 and C2 connected in parallel to L1, current will be flowing. Initially when VCC, when we turn on VCC, current will be flowing from top to bottom through a series combination of C1 and C2. Okay, so the way in which current is flowing through C1 and C2, through both C1 and C2, current is actually flowing in the same way. But remember, the top of C1 is connected to positive, okay, which is actually VCC here, and when we take the output we are actually connecting the positive of the CRO to the top of C1, and the bottom of C1 is connected to earth, right? Bottom of C1 is connected to earth. On the left side we can see. Okay, similarly the top of C2 is actually connected to earth. See, that means the bottom of C1 is negative, and that is connected to earth, but the top of C2, which is actually the positive plate, it is connected to earth. So that means the voltage developed across C1 and C2 will be opposite in direction. See, because along C1 there is no problem, the top of C1 is positive plate, this curved plate is actually the negative plate of the capacitor. So the top of C1 is a positive plate, and it is actually connected to the positive part of all the circuit elements, whereas the top of C2, which is positive, it is actually connected to earth, which means the direction of the voltage developed across C1 and C2 will be opposite in direction. So we are taking the output from the top of C1, but we are feeding back the voltage which is developed across C2. So the voltage developed across C2 will be opposite in direction to the output voltage. So it is actually the way in which we have connected C1 and C2 in the circuit, and the way in which we have connected the common earth for C1 and C2, that will ensure that the voltage developed across C2 is opposite in direction to the output voltage. Okay, so that means there is a 180-degree phase difference because of the presence of C2, and Q1 is also providing additional 180-degree. So altogether it will make 360-degree phase difference, which will ensure positive feedback. Positive feedback is the reason why we have an undamped oscillation. Then the last one is you have to, I mean, in the previous example I didn't mention again how much is the frequency, because we all what we had is one L1 and one C1. So the frequency will be 1 by 2 pi root of L1 C1. Whereas in this case we have got two capacitors. So these two capacitors are connected in series. So the effective capacitance CT, it is the capacitance in the tank circuit, it is equal to C1 C2 by C1 plus C2. So that should be used in the equation for frequency. The frequency in this circuit is equal to F is equal to 1 by 2 pi root of CT into L. Okay, so that is how we explain Colpitts oscillator. Now the working is already, I mean, it is explained in detail here. This is about how we ensure positive feedback in Colpitts oscillator. Now this I have drawn it again just to give you a better idea about how this voltage developed across C1 and C2 are coming in opposite, because this part of the tank circuit, it is drawn in a different way. I have shown L in the top portion, L of the tank circuit, okay, and actually the top of L is positive, and in this left diagram the left part of L is shown to be positive, and the left part of L is connected to positive plate of C1, okay, that is shown on the left here, whereas bottom of L, which is negative, is connected to negative of C2, okay, that is shown on the other side, whereas the negative of C1 and positive of C2 are connected to earth, negative of C1 and positive. So this is actually on the left side what I have drawn is like a pie diagram, what I have drawn is actually the tank circuit in the Colpitts oscillator. So it is more clear here the way in which the voltage is developed across C1 and C2. C1 top is positive and bottom is negative, whereas in the case of C2, top is negative and bottom is positive. So obviously the voltage developed across C1 and C2 are opposite. They will be having 180-degree phase difference, and the voltage developed across C2 is the feedback voltage, which will ensure that it is having 180-degree phase difference from the output, and then additional phase reversal is ensured by the presence of Q1, which is connected in common emitter configuration. So altogether we'll be having 360-degree phase difference. Okay. Now another example is Hartley oscillator. It is also similar to the previous one, Colpitts oscillator, but only thing difference is that earlier we used 2 capacitors, whereas in this case we are using 2 inductors. So a series combination of 2 inductors is connected to a capacitor in parallel. So the tank circuit is the parallel combination of L1 parallel combination of C and effective L. Effective L is a series combination of L1 and L2. So like that you can explain how the tank circuit is generating oscillations. Then what you have to explain is how do we give the feedback. So the base of the transistor is connected to bottom of L2, okay, and the top of L2 is connected to earth. Earth is actually, the emitter is actually connected to earth. So obviously L2 is connected between base and emitter. L2 is connected between base and emitter. Okay, so it is actually the voltage developed across L2 which will be acting as the feedback voltage. And then what you have to explain is how do we have 180-degree phase difference between the output and the feedback voltage. In order to do that, I have drawn this circuit in a different way. See, we have got the L1 and L2 which are in series combination, and the output can be taken from the voltage developed across L1 can be taken as the output, or you can use another inductor and take the voltage, induced voltage developed across that new inductor. That is also a different option, but normally if you examine the left diagram, the output is taken from the top of L1. We are taking the output. So what you have to explain is how the voltage developed across L1 and L2 are opposite, because voltage developed across L1 is essentially our output, and voltage developed across L2 is our feedback. So these two voltages should be having 180-degree phase difference. So how do we do that is, again, if you examine this part, the top of L1 is positive, bottom of L2 is negative, whereas top of L2 is connected to earth and bottom of L2 is connected to the input part. So obviously the voltage developed across L1 and voltage developed of L2 are reversed. Okay, so that will ensure 180-degree phase difference, and then this transistor, again because of the common emitter configuration, it will ensure another 180-degree phase difference, and it will provide 360-degree phase difference. So this is how we make Hartley oscillator. Okay, and in this case, when you explain the frequency, you will have to find out the effective value of L1 and L2, since they are connected in series and they are essentially coils. Effective L is the sum of the L1 and L2, and that L1 plus L2 is taken as LT, which is the inductance of the tank circuit. So that should be used in the equation for frequency. And the last one is RC phase shift oscillators. In this case, we are not using LC tank circuit, but this circuit as such is capable of generating oscillations. So here what we do is, we have got an RC network, and it is this RC network. We don't have a tank circuit like L and C as before, because this RC network will be capable of generating oscillations. So the tank circuit, we don't have an LC tank circuit here, because the RC network will be generating oscillations. And how do we make 180-degree phase difference is what we have to see. So when you have a combination of C and R, I think you have started learning, in the RC network there will be a phase difference between the voltage developed across R and C. And how much is that phase delay between the voltage developed across R and C will actually depend on the values of R and C. So what we do in this circuit is, so we have got 3 branches of R and C. RC, 3 branches are there. So what we have to do is, we'll have to decide the values of R and C in such a way that in one branch 1/3 of 180 degree phase difference will be there, which means 60 degree. So you'll have to decide the values, design this circuit in such a way that in one branch of C and R there will be a phase difference of 60 degree, so that altogether all the 3 branches will be making a total of 180 degree phase difference. Then the transistor will again make a 180 degree phase difference, so that it will be making total 360 degree phase difference, which will ensure positive feedback. Okay, so that is how we do it. We don't have an LC tank circuit here because these RC network themselves will be providing oscillations, and the nature of selection of R and C will ensure 60 degree phase difference in one branch. And similarly we have got 3 branches, 3 identical branches are there, so altogether it will make a 360 degree phase difference. And in this case the frequency is given by this equation, f is equal to 1/2 pi √6 into CR. Okay, so these are the 3 important types of oscillator circuits that you have to learn. Okay, so this is another thing about RC network. It explains how you can find out the phase difference provided you know how much is the capacitive reactance and R. So the phase difference in an RC network is given by tan inverse chi C by R, where chi C is the capacitive reactance. So that's all.